Okay, you all good? Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the B2C Lead Generation Podcast. You're listening to the B2C Lead Gen Podcast. My name is Daniel Hurtwell here with Simon Delaney, and this is episode 69, How to Use Lead Gen to Unlock Growth. As that title suggests, we're going to be looking at lead gen within growth marketing today, covering why it's so important for brands and how to get the best out of it. Let's just begin with that, Simon. Why is lead gen so important for unlocking growth?
Well, I think ultimately it's building a one-to-one connection with a prospect, right? So speaking to them directly, taking your relationship off third-party platforms where you don't necessarily control the interaction and being able to deal directly between a company and a buyer or a potential buyer. And obviously for persistent lead buyers, so brands that are always buying leads to power their growth, is all about the ROI. So, the CPA that they pay out to generate or buy leads means they can just grow consistently as long as they hit a certain conversion rate. That's ultimately why it's used.
Yeah, I think as well, like you sort of hinted at it there, taking it off third-party platforms, it kind of links back into this idea of the changing marketing landscape in a few years anyway, like kind of that removing that sort of that way of doing stuff at times by necessity, as Google have changed things and various platforms have, but also it all feeds back into this idea of building a direct relationship. I think those brands that can do that, build that personal relationship, seem to be the ones that are, I don't say growing the best because some of them are already massive, but like I think that's really important.
Let's be clear about this as well, though. So most brands are very bad at doing that. They're not utilizing lead generation in any way near the shape or form that they should. And they're still just relying on spray and pray marketing and advertising.
It's one of the things that I'm guilty of forgetting this, because obviously our clients doing lead gen and we talk to them all the time. So a lot of people we speak to are doing really well in this sense. But then, it's like you say, like loads of companies on. I think is good point actually to bring that around.
Just look at something like, I don't know, pick a brand out of a hat. Coca-Cola. Have you ever seen Coca-Cola do lead gen?
I've not, but I don't know. Define lead gen, like what?
Collecting people's email addresses, or
I don't know. I don't think I've ever. I don't know. You'd see it, but like, do they need to? I guess is my kind of question.
Well, they do it. They sort of do it, but it's not something they promote. What they tend to promote is just ads, right? But obviously, within the ads, there's no reason they can't do lead generation as part of that. It's literally like, the amount of ads they show. Someone could click on it. It could be whatever it is they normally show with a form on it.
Which I think, because I can't think of anything like now you put me on the spot. All I can think of is Coca-Cola's Christmas advert. I can say I can think of. I was like, I'm sure they must be doing other stuff, but I don't know. I'll have to come back to it. But I guess the point of the podcast. So any brands who are listening who maybe aren't doing it, or if they are and want to improve it, let's look at a few ideas for brands who can up their lead gen game. If you have any tips or any ideas you've got for you.
Yeah, so I wrote a few things down, which is a way that brands can utilize and really think about running lead generation. So the number one thing is, and I'll just make this point clear, when you run lead generation campaigns, there is massive brand awareness and vertical awareness and everything else around it, because obviously there's only a percentage of the people that these ads or promotions or content that is shown to that actually convert to become leads. So it's right to think of lead generation in a way as a massive brand awareness exercise as well. And because of that, if you want to grow a brand using lead generation, the number one thing that you focus on is make sure that ads, the landing pages, the emails, any assets that are used are all in your brand and are all designed in a way that puts your brand front and center, but using conversion principles as well. Because this just gives you massive brand awareness wherever it's pushed. So, it could be Facebook, it could be native, it could be via affiliates, wherever it is, your brand is going to be front and center to a lot of people. If touching on affiliates, if you use affiliates to drive traffic to a landing page, for each lead that signs up, that might have been shown to hundreds of people. So it's a really good way to push the brand out there. But obviously the great thing about doing it via affiliates is you're only usually paying out on a CPL anyway. So this could be via affiliate networks or via your own affiliate network or partnerships that you create. So it's a brilliant way to push a brand and grow the brand awareness, but at the same time, run it on a lead generation basis. Obviously, there's caveats within that, which is affiliates, depending on where it's run, there can be like bits of fraud in it. So you've got to like put things together that stop that fraud. So just like, let's say one easy thing just so brands can do it. So like double opt-in verification, and they send an SMS or an email to every user that signs up confirming they're a real person they want to sign up. Use PPC keywords, like really specific ones for your brand, because obviously it's just like very high intent. So anything you're buying keywords on, so if you're a broadband company, then they'll all be doing this anyway, but some newer ones might not be. PPC leads are just some of the highest converting leads because the amount of intent that's being used. So, when someone goes in and goes like fast broadband speeds or best broadband provider, that's specifically what they're looking for. But all the other channels are basically interruptions to people, while they're going around scrolling through Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or native, even they're just going through news articles. Everything is actually just an interruption. There's no intent initially behind there. What you're relying on is that your targeting is accurate enough and that your copy, your brand, the design you use, everything is eye-catching enough to those people within your target audience that they're actually going to stop whatever they're doing and go, I need that. And this is why like generic messaging, generic images, generic winky wanky ads that people use just don't work, because what you really need to focus on is the pain point that a user is feeling that matches your target audience. And if you can do that, that's how you grab their attention. It's like, what is it that's keeping them awake at night? And targeting is obviously key within that. And what's great is when you generate leads via those mediums, you can obviously feed the leads that come back in, or if you've got the conversions back into like further hone the audience, because all you're looking to do is really like drill down into, the specific targeting of people that like are going to consume your ads. And obviously within this is the amount of testing and different ads that you create and constantly, split testing ads and landing pages and stuff like that. On everything that you run, use retargeting pixels that just, go back out on Facebook. But the key thing within this is, and the mistake most people make, is they drive users back to a form. So again, it's just like a lead gen ad. Really what you want to be using is just pure content. It's stuff that makes them identify with your brand, that you've identified their problem, that you are the solution. So this could just be like, a one-page blog around whatever it is that you're doing. So you're not actually specifically going after the data at that point, but then you can put another retargeting pixel on the back of that for people who have clicked through, because you can then know what their potential pain is and offer either a form on the back of that might change in relation to the copy they've consumed, or just more content, again, just to constantly grow out the brand. The other key thing, if you want to grow a brand via lead gen, is to sort out the lead nurturing. And we've covered this quite a lot on this podcast with lead nurturing, of how it needs to be real value add. So when you have leads coming in, you're going to be converting like 15%. It's going to be lower if they're like marketing qualified leads. They don't just want to be sold to. What you've got to do is just offer massive value to them. Just give them stuff that actually makes them realize that you're the solution to their problems, because they've shown like an initial interest in the first place, right? They're just not ready to convert. They haven't answered your phone call. The email that you've sent them hasn't resonated yet. You just got to figure out what it is that actually solves their problems. if you're buying leads and you're sort of trying to grow a brand and you're new to lead gen, you obviously need to figure out the type of leads that you're buying. So, are they marketing leads? Are these people expecting a call? Or are they expecting just more marketing material? They don't really know whether your solution is something they go after. Or is it a sales qualified lead? So 100% they're expecting a call or something to happen so that they can purchase your product or solution. And it's really important to get this sorted because it's where most companies fail. They start putting marketing leads into a sales function. And actually all that generally does is piss people off and demoralize sales agents. Another way is use partner marketing. Can you partner with any other brands that offer a non-competitive but complementary solution to you so you can generate leads together and wrap up a product or offering and push that out to your target audience? And can you in some way incentivize users that either sign up as a lead or have previously converted to basically become an affiliate themselves? So this is about giving them a link that they can promote via WhatsApp, they could put on Facebook, they could put whatever they want, and they get some sort of incentive back every time a user fills that form in or becomes a customer. So a classic example is we did this on an energy campaign for a client a year ago now. And we just used an Amazon voucher for people that converted. And we said, use this link wherever you promote it, you get £20 Amazon voucher for every customer that you generate. And that just spread like wildfire. And if you're in a non-emotive vertical, there are lots about, and a lot of them are in like financial services and stuff like that. People don't necessarily particularly care about the brand. This is where you could then go out to third-party lead generators that have their own brands and buy leads from them. And what this does is raise like vertical awareness. It doesn't raise your brand awareness, but it means that you're going to get more sales in. Obviously, if it's an emotive product and it's all built around your brand, so if I don't know, it's a car or something, it's virtually impossible to that because you don't want to drive vertical awareness. You want to drive brand awareness. That was a massive long list, and I hope it was too much to consume. And I've like rushed through a lot of it, just aware of how long it could take. But ultimately, all those things sort of wrapped together is how you unlock growth using lead generation.
As you were talking, I was making notes because I thought, I'll bring back certain things because, we don't want to miss anything or go in depth a bit more. What struck me as interesting is a couple of things you mentioned there, treating it as a brand building exercise, offering value rather than just, getting to, it almost feels a little bit like lead generation as a phrase perhaps has a connotation around it that makes you think about sort of, as you choose your own terminology, the winky wanky types, the lead generators, the people who are just buying, selling at a very low level. But what we're really talking about here, I mean, these things, building the brand, offering value, building nice looking stuff, it's hard work. And I guess what I'm trying to say is lead generation in that simplistic sense, which is buying something, isn't really marketing. Whereas what you're talking about is absolutely like difficult to do well. It's proper marketing. Do you see what I mean? I'm trying to get my head around this idea that it's almost like lead gen. It's like, I think I heard this phrase like lead gen world, lead gen 1.0. It's kind of what people maybe think of, but this is like lead gen, I don't know, whatever iteration we're on. And it's like, it sounds like one could say it, but it's like real marketing. It's not just simply buying and selling. I guess that's what I'm sort of trying to come around to. It fits into these brands, and that's why a bigger brand should be more aware of it and treat it in a sense.
What's really interesting about the point you've just made is a lot of the things that I've just said are done now, right? But they're done by lead generators. And those lead generators aren't as bothered about their brand as they are about generating a lead. And this is why it sort of comes back to this point that we've been using for like a couple of years now. Lead generators need to become brands and brands need to become lead generators. So the incredible thing within this unlocking of growth within lead generation, if you go to any of like, well-known lead generation companies, they'd be able to, like, maybe not exactly because I speak to some of them about some of the stuff I've just mentioned, but it can be broadly around the same lines of how they would build a lead generation campaign to generate leads under a brand they might have created 10 minutes ago and send them to their clients. But this just missing a huge trick, which is like the brand awareness that goes with it. Exactly as you said, and unlocking the growth of a brand. So if brands can sort of tap into some of this methodology, and again, it's something we've repeated on this podcast before as well. The number one thing that impacts your advertising ROI for lead generation is the size of your brand or its market share or how well known it is. Basically, the bigger fish you are in a small pond, you pay less to generate more quality leads. Now, if you're a lead generator in a specific vertical or a brand moving into it, that's just why it's such a huge opportunity. Like the opportunity is virtually untapped. This what we're talking about. I don't see anyone doing it particularly, which is why it's there's this mystery of lead gen with some of the brands. We sort of alluded to at the beginning, like the opportunities.
That's what I bring about round two. Like, is it a perception thing? Like I was saying, like, is it because when people are hearing lead gen, they're thinking one thing and they're actually missing this huge opportunity to be like really good, do some amazing marketing, build a strong brand? And following on from that, does that mean that it's like really underutilized by brands currently?
Yeah. So what's really interesting is every single company on earth does lead generation, right? Like there's none that aren't doing it, that isn't doing it. But it's more about whether it's like a persistent exercise in generating prospects data that they then can communicate with on a one-to-one basis. So this is all the difference between lead buyers that run their business with lead gen and companies that do brand awareness exercises and they'll occasionally dip into lead gen. We do it, right? I mean, like some of our clients, as you know, are like big advertising networks or big affiliate networks. And what happens is a client will come on board for a month, run a lead gen exercise, and then they close that off. And then they go back to, I don't know, TV advertising or brand or banners or something. I don't know. I mean, when you're in this world and you realize the opportunity behind lead generation, it's really difficult to understand why some huge brands aren't just doing it permanently. The reason I mentioned someone like Coca-Cola is that maybe they don't need to, right? Everyone knows Coca-Cola already, and it's basically like just a constant brand exercise of the next big thing or whatever. But it's all about removing the third-party interference between you and the relationship you have with your potential prospects. Like every single company wants that on earth, whether it's B2B, B2C, anything. They want a one-to-one conversation. And the only way that you get that is via lead generation. There's literally like no other method. You can't, it doesn't just materialize. Everything is reliant on other platforms pushing your message across. And the amazing thing is, outside of TV, if Coca-Cola are going to carry on spending, billions on TV advertising, I'm sure most of it's wasted nowadays because everything's recorded and on tap anyway, or doing, I don't know what they do, radio or newspaper ads or billboards or whatever. Anything that's online should 100% have a lead generation form like attached to it. It just makes no sense not to. And maybe they do that. I just haven't seen it. I work with companies that basically collect people's data. We work with companies that collect people's data. We're the software provider that like powers this, right, between consumers and brands. We would do some B2B stuff as well. And I've seen some big brands do it. I don't see very many of the huge brands where the potential margins are quite low, but they are spending billions on advertising. Do it.
I think it's when it comes back a little bit, and this might be a kind of nice way to sort of round it up. It comes back to the idea, or the lack of idea, about what you're going to be doing with the lead. What I mean by that is, if the motivation is simply just to collect a lead, that's almost, I said it before, it's almost like the end of the journey. But if you think, actually, I want to not just make a sale, but I want to build a relationship with this person, I've got this lead in, that's like the lead is simply the start of the journey. I've now got them in. I can build this long-term relationship with them. And then it comes back into stuff like lifetime value. It's not just a one-off sale. It's sales for the next 40 years. If Coca-Cola had a lead, if Coca-Cola send, if rather than just doing the Christmas advert once a year, I mean, I don't know why Coca-Cola is brilliant, but you know what I mean? Like, imagine if I sign up to their marketing email because I think, oh yeah, this is really cool. And every single month they send me unique offer, to send me content, to send me customized videos. And it's like, I love this. I'm becoming a brand for them. It's like, yeah, forget Pepsi for the rest of my life. Like, this is what I'm into. Like that kind of thing. Like, it's not just a one-off transaction element. It's moving into a long-term kind of process. And I guess it's that perspective you think about.
100%. And you think of like the number one lever of virtually every person on earth's purchasing decisions, word of mouth. So if you've got like this one-to-one relationship and all you're doing is giving value and you're consuming that, what do you talk to people about? It's just, I don't create word of mouth by seeing an ad on TV. Like, I fast forward through it, or I just like go and do something else.
This is interesting. The other day I told you about, like, some listener told me I'm completely wrong, but I read this on LinkedIn earlier, and it was something about Gary Vee at some event like Cannes or something, and he was sat next to, I believe, Paris Hilton or someone like this. It was like one of his figures. And he came out with something like, no one anymore is consuming anything from your TV ads. Do you know what I mean? He was just sort of saying, like, I need to find the exact quote, but it was that kind of idea that it's so transactional now. It's like, maybe you do need this longer term kind of approach to things. It's interesting.
It's strange, isn't it? I hope we can get someone sort of reply to us and let us know or anyone can. If anyone listening to this has an idea, just message Daniel or I, or you respond on LinkedIn or something and say why you think a lot of brands aren't heavily into running their own lead gen.
I'm pretty sure I've seen a Coca-Cola address in HubSpot at some point or other. I'll try and look it up.
Probably from like a show that's been scanned or something, but
yeah, probably. But like, yeah, if it just got out to you, it happens to me. I think that's an interesting question about whether lead gen is unutilized, and I almost feel like that's a separate question to how to use lead gen. So let's come back to that and say we'll do a podcast on that in the future about look at it in a more general sense. But you put a load of tips there for people who actually are wanting to up their lead gen game. So hopefully, if you've listened to that, you found it useful. Listen back to past my waffle and to Simon's actual concise points. That was pretty good.
I thought you were asking all the right questions.
Just in the wrong order. That was episode 69, how to use lead gen to unlock growth. Thanks for listening to the B2C Lead Generation podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe to hear more from those at the very cutting edge of the lead gen world.